Yo, is this working? Hello? Oh, I feel so bad. we um we ordered like tea. Okay, we ordered tea and the guy comes up and he's like, "Can you please leave me a positive review?" And I said, "Absolutely, dude, no problem." And I go up to leave him a positive review and I accidentally click skip review and tip. And now I'm like, is he outside waiting? I feel bad. I feel actually bad. He's going to murder me. I didn't even mean to do that though. I would have left the tip. It's just Uber is such a scuffed app sometimes that like you click one thing and it instantly disregards everything else and just like pushes you through to the end type of deal. It's really shit. I feel bad. Anyways, well, that's life. And as fucked up as it seems, some Uber drivers are not getting positive reviews in their dreams. Okay. Like, fix this. Focus. Focus. Yeah, that's not a good thing. I genuinely feel bad because it was an accident. Like, actually an accident. No, we're not painting. This is the first time I've been able to sit down and not do anything since waking up at 10 a.m. This is the first time, and it's 11:30 p.m. So, very busy. Yeah. Well, we just finished the walls. We actually did. So tomorrow we got to build the bookcase. Yeah. We're going to be a bit busy. Hence why I'm not streaming on the main channel, because I can't be there for longer than like an hour, and it's kind of pointless to stream for an hour, because that's like one league game. So I'd rather just get on here, chill, and then go to bed. And then wake up. And do it again. Yo, yo. Oh, man, I need the fucking fan on me, bro. My ass is toasted. Oh, I unplugged the fan on accident. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. You piece of shit. Get in there, brother. Get in there, brother. Why? Oh. Okay. We're good. Thank God. Holy. Holy. Now it's a shadow box. It looks like a mirror, but it's like glass. Okay. Time to scrape engine bits. think we're actually almost done the gyrocopter. We've got, like... These are basically done. These are basically done. So these 2 engine bits left, and then it's, like, a bit of the propellers, and I think that's basically it for the gyro. Outside of, like, the main gun. Thank God. How the fuck are you even supposed to get in here? Yikes. Like, how do you get to mold lines in there? I wonder if there's, like, a poking tool that allows you to do that. Like, I don't know how you would do that without fucking it up. Such a horrible place to be. It is not a good place to be. Did you guys... I know some of you were watching Rainsden's cooking stream. I tuned in, saw British food, and I went to go throw up for the next 3 hours, so I couldn't stay, unfortunately. But it was very interesting. I'll be doing a cooking stream probably, July? I think July. Near the middle or the end of July, once I can actually fucking stream on that main channel consistently. Cooked up a storm of unedible slop. I need more peanuts, though. It's been a while. Trying to eat healthy. So for today, I ended up eating Tim Hortons pizza, which is very healthy because it's Tim Hortons, right? Tim Hortons pizza. It's delicious. I wonder how I'm going to get in these nooks and crannies. Ironically, not half bad. What, his cooking or the pizza? Because it was Pizza Pikachu who said you should go get some pizza at Timmy's, and I did, and it's honestly good pizza. It's actually good food. Maybe not good for you, but like I could eat more of it. It's better. Like I told Ivana because she wasn't awake. We ate at like 1 o'clock and she woke up at 3. Um, we went to okay. Listen to this. We went to bed at the same time. I woke up at 10 a.m. She woke up at 3 p.m. and we went to bed at like 5 a.m. Horrible. Ivana. One sec. Hang on. Oh, it was you making noise? I thought we were getting murdered by the guy. All right, I'm here. Oh, my big ass got to sit in this chair. Push over. Oof, tired. How very tired of me. I'm 99% sure this does something, but like, it just doesn't seem like it does. Because you can't really. There's no way you're jamming a blade into like. Oh, this is the wrong one. There's no way you're jamming a blade into all of these parts. So what I've devised is that instead of absolutely butchering a piece, it's better to try and like soften the mold lines or push them down to a point where you can't see them. I think that just works better. And I'm 99% sure it actually works. It's just you got to put a bit of pressure. Because the mold lines on this thing on the inside are really soft. They're super shit. And that's why toothpicks are the goat. I've seen people try to use like Tamiya super thin to kind of like melt mold lines, but I've done it in the past and I don't really like it. It leaves like a weird texture. Kind of makes the surface a bit like lumpy sometimes. Can't tell if that actually did much though. Maybe a metal one works better. You know what? The metal pick actually works way better. Let's see something. That actually does work. Actually does. Dangerous suited on older plastic kits too. I feel like the chemical formula. It is weird. There's two different types of plastics. They've got like the weird white soft plastic that a lot of the like you can actually see the difference. It's very bizarre. But you are right. Big box. Okay. Massive box of Quarlers that is yet to be built. But like as an example, there's your soft plastic. And then of course you've got like the harder stuff. Yeah, it works. You could do it. I think though these mold lines are like disgusting. They're really thick. And I guess for like the sake of picking the hell out of a mold line, it's not that you want to really get it perfect. It's just you can't like jam a knife in there. But I feel like if there was a different tool for this, that'd be much better. Softer cement hits them harder. Yeah, a lot of the if you're talking about like the glue stuff instead of this. Yeah, this the Tamiya super thin glue is not necessarily my favorite. I feel like people do like it. It kind of just runs everywhere and sometimes it gets in places you don't want it to. But for gluing big arms and stuff like that for like the Dwarf Warrior, I think for the arm I did like GW glue. For the shield, I did super glue, and then the base, I did super glue, just to kind of get everything in place. But this is just like a nothing mini. Sharkadin, yo, buddy. Blue, hello, sir. People do like the Tamiya glue, though. It's kind of like a godsend for most. I'm wondering, like, what brand of... Like, I guess it's just, like, what, acetone, really? But what brand of plastic glue is sold that's thick enough, like a GW one, without being GW? Because I can't really think of one. Because that GW glue is disgusting to work with. The needle is so garbage. Did I show you the reveal? Do you really want to see it? I can go get it. It's like right there. I've only shown it once. It's not something I like kind of like putting out there, but I don't need this right now. You hyped me up for 5 months. I mean, it's an old world piece, or it's like a Warhammer Fantasy piece. It's not like 40K. To me, it does make a cement product. I think it's the one with the brush, right? Like the thick brush, where you paint it on instead of like the super thin glue that you kind of like drop it in the cracks with. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I need one that has like an applicator like this, like a nose, a needle. Like if the GW glue works, it's fine, but I don't burn it with a lighter or like, you know, fuck with the needle too much, so that's probably why I have problems. Revel. Hang on, let me look that up. Yeah, it was this one, the blue bottle. Is this better than GW? Like, just for the sake of... It's the same needle product. Like, it's a precise applicator. It's the same. Yeah, let me see. Is Revel better than GW? Glue. I find sometimes when I'm even using like plastic glue, the thicker it is, I use like a toothpick and then kind of like jab it into place. I might give Revel a try if I'm in a store and they've sold Revel or they're selling Revel. The worst glue I've ever used is the one that comes with the Army Painter. Well, the Army Painter stuff is kind of like beginner friendly. It's not really like it's good products. They're fine, but I wouldn't use them over like most things. Tamiya Cement has a brush, and I prefer it because you always get my needles stuck. Yeah, the problem with the brush is just it's too much, in my opinion. Like, it's too wide, and I don't like where glue gets, like, into places I don't want it to get, because then you have to kind of, like, clean it up if you're that type of person, like I am. But, either way. I used to use Revel back 2 decades ago when I first started. It works great. I'll try it. I'll get one bottle and then compare it to this in terms of, like, application. Yeah. A lot of... You know where I find Revel is fucking, like, general hobby stores. Like, I went into a Michael's, and Michael's is... I don't know what you guys have where you live, but it's the most, like, standard mother store. You go in and buy, like, a sign that says love, and then it's next to, like, super glue and shit like that. That's kind of what Michael's is. They've had a Revel in there a few times. If you really, I'll go show you. Sure, you got to give me like 2 minutes to get it out of the case though. It's a dwarf thing. It's probably the rarest dwarf thing in the old world or like fantasy, pretty much ever produced. I gotta go get it though if you really want to see it. It's a company for making military kits, planes. Yeah, that's what I see it. That's what I see it with. It's like your little beginner starter set friendly, like tank kit, generic car kit, plane kit at like an all-around craft store. I don't model anymore. That's why I don't use it. Yeah. That's fine. I mean, honestly, I like trying to find products that will help me out. A lot of them are extremely gimmicky and don't do much, but glue is one of the things you kind of need. Big Train Hobby Store. Yeah, we don't have that here. We don't have, like... I would even say train stores are kind of like a niche for the most part. Let me go get gloves. Okay, give me like 1 second and I'll bring it out. I gotta go open up the case. Hang on. Is Sharkadin still here? Because otherwise I wouldn't really be bringing this out. For the most part. Did this guy leave? Oh, you're still here? Okay. So essentially what this is it's... shit together. So I've collected dwarf merchandise for a very long time. I started with like Games Day minis way back when. I've only attended one Games Day, and that was like 2006. It was downtown here, and they handed out the Golden Demon like Slayer mini. It's where he's chopped off the head of the demon and he's standing on top of it, gloating, whatever. Subsequent years, I've gone after like the White Dwarf minis. I've got most of the Grombrindles outside of like the ones in the 80s and whatnot that were store openings and lead. Yeah, the embedded axe one. Just want to make sure I'm not running over anything. Oh, I'm so fat. It's horrible. I think so. These are all, yeah, it's in this one. So initially, what it was kind of started with this guy. This is not it, but 2006. It was this dude. And you got him for free for basically just attending Games Day. You bought a ticket, and they gave you the commemorative mini. So since that day, I've kind of gone after like the weirder, niche, obscure things that GW's put out, miniature-wise. The rarest of all of the Dwarven ones, in terms of unreleased minis, was an entire kit. And it was from 2006, and it was the Juan Diaz unreleased dwarf kit. So if I can put this out. It's a complete, like, 100% unique kit that was never released to the public. And essentially every bit on the sprue is only obtainable on this, well, in this kit, I suppose. This is it. Yeah, this is it. It's not that impressive, but like the story behind it is very bizarre. And it's essentially like when most of the armies in fantasy got reworked, a lot of armies got command sprues. It wasn't mass produced. So people internally at GW were given them. But outside of that, there was no way to obtain it, right? Like if you worked in, I don't know, the office or something, and supposedly a guy would come around and like, oh, here you go. That's that. But this is essentially what it gives you is the option to make shield bearers in plastic. You can make like a Thane on foot. You can make a Lord. They've got a bunch of like cool little bits. So like, a little grudge book. They've got wings for a helmet. They've got horns for a helmet. They've got a big looking like Slayer axe. Some hand weapons, repeater pistol, a pipe. There's your little feather, your little pen, your quill. That was supposed to be like a BSB icon, right? Because this whole kit was designed to be specifically for command characters. They did them for, let me think. Orcs and Goblins had one in plastic. What else did they do? My memory is so fuzzy right now on like what other races had them. But yeah, it's really cool. And I mean, for how long I've been collecting stuff, like this is the holy grail, at least for me. I'm still missing a few like unreleased minis that I'm trying to track down, but they're really fucking hard to get a hold of. I'm going to MamaCon this weekend. I'm pretty sure there's a GW booth. If there's any neat stuff, I'll send you it on Twitter. Yeah, send it to me on Discord. I don't buy everything. I'm very like specific in what I go after. All of it's just dwarf related. Are you planning on building it? I'll answer that question in a few months. But yeah, so I think it's fucking awesome. I would love to build it. I'm not keen on like bringing it anywhere. But this is something you're kind of not going to get too many of in a lifetime. I do want to make a trip to Warhammer World, though. That would be awesome. It's a good conversation piece. Well, the story behind it. Oops. The story behind the unreleased kit is essentially there was a problem with molding, or rather casting it. Um, from what I've heard, they had to kind of like commission out things to be done elsewhere. Like GW wasn't doing it. A different company was working on casting stuff up, and one of the guys dropped the mold and broke it. And so for that reason, they decided not to release it. But on top of that, they weren't really happy with the quality of it anyways. The sculpts, they said, were kind of like soft. Builds it. It builds. So it builds shield bearers. There's the first shield bearer, the second shield bearer. There's the hands, right, to hold up the shield. The shield's over here. On top of the shield, you can get like a Thane or Lord. You can also put them on foot to carry like a BSB or just kind of be general like characters. You know, it's a generic character kit that has a bunch of like custom bits. Essentially, there's an Oath Stone actually on the reverse of this. Right there. So it would be cool to see it mass produced, obviously, because like the new kit they did bring out with the shield bearers, it looks good, but it looks a little bit too digital for me. Like, unironically, I think I like this more. Not because it's rare, but just because it's all hand sculpted. It kind of fits in with like the current Dwarven line of plastics. But yeah, so it's a generic kit, and from it being generic, I mean, you could have just made whatever with it. So that's that. Crazily enough, it came from the original sculptor, Juan Diaz, who currently, I believe, does fucking courses in where does that guy live? Spain? I think he's in Spain. He still makes like appearances and does sculpting courses and stuff like that. So that's cool. GP, buddy. Bring that to Warhammer World so you can trade it for $50 of store credit. I think you'd probably put that in the museum, if anything. But yeah. It's cool. But it's definitely not something you fuck with too often. I think that's good. Yep. I wonder if GW even acknowledges its existence. They probably do. I mean, I'm sure people who still work there know of it. Obviously, if you haven't really been around since Fantasy, you'd be like, what the hell is that? You know, who cares? But I don't know. They seem to have replaced it with like the new kit, obviously. People were thinking it was going to come back as kind of like a, oh my god, an unreleased kit like they did with Britonia, with like that one guy, the king, who kind of looks like the sculpt's a bit weird. I'm sure they're aware of it, but like, again, if they didn't like it back then, why would they like it now, I think? And you know, even remolding it, oh, it'd be awesome. It'd be so sick. The book alone with like the little quill to kind of write stuff in is so cool. Or the big wings for the helmet. Because to me, it's, I mean, the new kit that's coming out, I don't think has much customization because it seems to be, it's going to be monopose for sure. Maybe like swapping out wrists and stuff. Like you can't do much with shield bearers in either kit, obviously, but the guy on top of the shield and then the dude on the ground, probably not going to be a lot. But the more the merrier. More customization, the better. Like, I could show you some more stuff, too, because I know you work on dwarves. Not necessarily, like, crazy things, but... There's, like, I kind of, that's a lot of bits. Here's some more bits. Where was it? I don't know if you've seen the 6th edition. I think it's 6th edition. 6th edition or, like, I don't know, man. 4th edition Dwarf Warriors. Wasn't 4th edition, 6th edition. Or maybe 5th. Where was it? It's right here. Yeah, these are a lot of fucking bits. Quarreler bit. I chop up all my sprues. I don't keep sprues. So in the other Dwarf Warriors kit, which makes like quarrelers, they gave you like little mugs of, or little like casks of Bugman beer. They gave you little mugs. They gave you pipes and satchels. If I can find the pipes. There's the pipe. Little smoking pipe. Like, the more bits, the better. I love bits. You can make people look so different with them. Little, like, dwarven backpacks. Ranger backpacks. It's interesting to go back and kind of see different kits that came out a while ago and kind of, like, look through what's on the sprue. Because, I mean, even Bretonnian peasants, or not peasants, I think it's the men-at-arms. The men-at-arms have really good bits. Like, if you could ever go to a bit site and say, like, okay, I want men-at-arms stuff, like, they've got a cask with a mug hanging off of it. They've got a bunch of, like, I mean, Peter's not going to like it, but they've got, like, rabbits and, you know, ducks and whatnot that were kind of, like, strung up to eat later. Something like a ranger would have. Shit like that is cool, if you could ever find it, but bit websites are kind of trashy. A little expensive for, like, each bit. Smoking the halfling leaf. Yeah, they like that stuff. Okay. Filter. No. Focus. Zoom. Cool. I need to finish this gyrocopter. It must go. These bits are kind of weird because the way you glue them onto the gyrocopter is very bizarre. You essentially have the housing of the gyrocopter like this, with the back seat going into here. And the way these bits work, the little engine parts, is the main part goes into here, and then these two parts sit on these little, like, notches. It's extremely inconvenient and looks weird, and it is probably prone to breaking because there's nothing else supporting it. But I guess you just don't touch the engine. So who knows? I'm loving these streams. Thank you, bro. Very Bing chilling, yes. Very. Super Bing chilling. Again, I don't really have time to stream on the main channel, considering this is like 45 minutes at the end of a day where I've been able to sit down. And I can think of about 20 things I have to do right now. So I'm just in the middle of all this stuff. Also, what I'll be doing, if anyone cares, if anyone's looking for anything in particular, I'm going to be posting shit on the Discord. It's going to be like 40k stuff initially. So we'll see how that goes. I got to get out of 40k. It's very icky right now. And it's not my favorite universe currently. No, you don't. Keep the Votan. I don't want Votan, man. I'll keep maybe like one of each box, but initially when I had purchased them, I did the whole army at 2k, and I'm never going to get through a 2k list. Not anytime soon, considering I want to do Old World, and I want to get my dwarves back, like, on the table. So I don't think I really want to. Like, if I keep them, they're going to sit there and do nothing, and people, if they do buy them, will at least get use out of them, right? Snack yo, buddy. Like, I don't have an innate desire to do 40k right now. I figured it'd be cool to kind of, like, do days of the week, kind of contributing to different, like, parts of the game. So, you know, maybe, like, 40k Friday, Old World every day, the War Master Wednesday. I don't fucking know. Just to be able to get through stuff. That would be cool. I've got Necromunda. I got my Blood Bowl team. Like, Jesus Christ, man. I haven't been able to do anything for years. It's not very fun when you sit around and not get to work on Warhammer like once a week, you know? Well, I mean, it's not like I only do. It's not like I only want to do Old World. It's just my most interested game right now, I suppose. You know, like I would love to. I would love to have a Votan army done. I'd love to have a Blood Bowl team done. I'd love to do all my Necromunda squats, but for how much free time I have currently and have had in the past few years, nothing's been done. Nothing has been done. So I've kind of just amassed it all, and it's been sitting here, and I want to finish it. Because what's the point of having it if you're not doing anything with it? Well, the Votan recently got new minis. The Hernkin on foot for Kill Team. The latest thing I purchased from the Votan, the last thing I bought was the Kill Team. Not the Hernkin Kill Team, but the Breachers. Are these Breachers? No, these are just Hernkin. Generic, like, upgrade sprue. I don't know what happened there. Like, flavor bits in armies are sick. Like, this guy's got... There was a Duster one, right? Like, this guy? Holy smokes. That's sick. I hope they come out with a jump pack unit, because, like, why not? If you've got one guy here, right? You've got a dude lugging around a bunch of gear. This dude's got a bunch of grenades. A fucking, like, Gatling gun. Yeah. It's cool. I think the biggest thing for me, though, is I don't like that they're not individuals. They all look the same. Makes sense for 40K considering you're, like, in space, you know? You kind of need a spacesuit, but the individualism in dwarves is kind of what I like about them, at least in, like, looks. It's more personal. But yeah, there is no book. There's no single novel. There's nothing outside of, like, I guess a bit of lore from, like, Necromunda. They've got stuff from the Kill Team lore, I suppose, of, like, what's going on with the units and why they're there. And then the army book. And that's about it. Yeah, Gene Stealer cults are, I mean, you know what's weird about the cults? Is that they're also from, like, I don't know if they initially came in through Rogue Trader, but they're fucking ancient, right? Like, the squats were there since day one. I've only seen you scrape mold lines. I've finished minis. Yeah, Dwarf Warrior. Dwarf Warrior. Dwarf Warrior on a painting handle. I've got a few things done. When you tune in, I'm not physically able to sit down for, like, weeks at a time to finish stuff. That's my problem. I travel to and from a place right now, and come July, that's not going to be happening, so I'll be able to kind of stream here tonight. Yeah, it's all good. I'm very slow when it comes to building, and it's too infrequent with, like, when I have time to work on stuff, so that's probably why I've never finished much. I didn't. No, it's in a box right now. I have so many ideas. It's just a matter of, like, having the willpower to finish it, to see it through. Because the Moria diorama that I had planned is so sick, but it's kind of big, and I need to learn OSL. I've got all the minis for it, and I would love to do Lord of the Rings related stuff, considering I did that in my youth. But right now, no. With the old world back, like, I'm not really looking at doing stuff like that. 3 Karnoth Hunters for Age of Sigmar and Magnetizing Arms, 3 days now. Yeah. It takes a while. I think the biggest thing is that you want to be happy with what you're doing, and if you end up not being happy with it, it's kind of lame, because you've worked on all that stuff for nothing, essentially, to be just, like, not satisfied. It's the ability to do it and just sit there and get something done, but also, like, you know, what if something comes along and kind of piques your interest more, right? I would love to practice OSL, though. Because when it comes to certain things, such as, like, mines or having torches lit and whatnot, like, it's really cool. Like, why do you think I'm selling a lot of my stuff? Because I know I'm never going to get to it, and it's just not really for me. Squizgar bought a few things today. He bought my militia and my cannons that were supposed to be a pirate force for, like, Age of Sigmar when it first kind of came out. Pizza Pikachu's buying a few things, like undead minis that were from Ivana. I've got a guy who's interested in orcs, a couple of orcs, not the ones you're interested in, Sharkaden. I'm trying to get rid of a few dwarves, like Quinplank is probably going to pick up a few dwarves. Just because, again, too many extras. I want it out. Like, I'm surrounded by shame. Motivation is a hobbyist's greatest hurdle. I've had 5,000 points of Tyranids fully assembled and not even primed for years. Yeah, I mean, events and things can really push you to kind of, like, finish stuff. When I was a kid, When I was a kid, I'd get a box, build it, paint it in the same night, and it would look like a pile of shit, but I would love it. Procrastinate. Were they really bad? I mean, I don't know, bro. I'm surprised my PC didn't even fucking blow up with Vanguard. I logged in. It works. Do you have a list of this on your Discord? Everything's going to be sold through Discord. I've done it before. Um, like I use Marketplace. I use local listings. I've been all over those things. I use local stores because sometimes they take in used minis. But everything will be through Discord. So like there's a place in Discord that says for sale, and I'm now able to post things because I'm here sorting my stuff. So tomorrow I'm going to put up a bunch of 40K store displays. There are a bunch of like I think it's particle board. I don't know what it is, but they used to have these giant portraits. I could show you actually. And actually, Tactical Waifu is buying one of them already, so that's cool. So there's two of them that I love so much because I remember seeing them early 2000s in a GW. Like, more so the Kazarkin, because the Kazarkin one is fucking sick. It's not working. It's a web image from Satan. There we go. So there's the Orc store display. One of them. And it's essentially like a giant wooden board that has like a little hole in the back for a nail. And then there's like the guard one. They're a little bit scuffed just because they've been sitting in storage for so long, but yeah, they're cool. So that's going to be on Discord tomorrow. Yeah, Shargadin Peaceman. Escalation leagues are good for that too. Any sort of thing that can get you like in a store playing games are good, right? Because then you're just motivated based on, you know, I got to get this done to play the game. New price change from GW. They keep upping the price every year. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Unfortunately, it's right before the Dwarf release, so, like, what the fuck? But it is what it is. Squizgar, yo, buddy. I will be boxing. Well, actually, it's already boxed up. I just got to go buy the label, and it'll be on its way probably in a day or two. Tomorrow, I'm still a bit busy. We've got, like, the renovations of a room. I got my garage. I got to go down to a store and drop stuff off. And then maybe after that, I think we're okay. Line has to always go up. Yeah, they're increasing it by like what? A couple of percentage? Like 4%, something like that? I mean, you can't do anything about it. All I'm going to say is if you don't like the prices, go to local gaming stores and get them cheaper. Because that is kind of a good thing that they sell them at like 15% off, and that's an agreement with GW. You're good, dude. Don't even worry about it. You're good. You're good. That militia kit is one of my favorites. Probably my favorite Empire kit, to be fair. And I think for a lot of people who played Empire back in the day, they might agree. It was also used in Mordheim, like a prime Mordheim kit, pretty much the one for plastics. Oh, you can proxy, yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing is that there's nothing wrong with proxying. It's just a matter of your budget and what you like aesthetically. Because if you like GW sculpts aesthetically, why would you want to use anything else? You know what I mean? Like certain sculptors and certain companies have their distinct styles, especially from like time to time, hand sculpted, now digital. You know, one guy does faces better, one guy does beards better, whatever it may be. For me, it's all visuals. If I like the look of something, I want to feel that. It could be third party, it could be a proxied model, it could be anything. Yeah, you're gonna get a bunch of stuff. I even have more. I have more of that shit. Um, like already glued though, unfortunately. If I end up finding like off the sprue stuff, I could let you know. Because essentially, it's two complete cannons with another cannon that's incomplete, and then I think there's like 2 boxes of militia that were all chopped up. So over 20 bodies, maybe 30. It is the coolest kit. They never do flavored kits anymore. Ever. They don't ever do that. GW just makes something and that's it, and they don't give you like a little telescope or a fucking pony or anything. Because I was looking at the I keep all my boxes because I'm weird. Let me turn that off so my boobs don't hit the camera. This is like this kit in particular is peak Games Workshop. The Dwarven Miner kit, because there was two. There was like the regiment, which is the 20, and then they had the standard unit, which was 10. GW does not like doing this anymore. They sculpt what they need to, and they sell you what you need, and like you don't get much flavor. I find. Where's this? So Dwarven Miners, they look pretty standard on the front, but when you flip it over, holy shit! You've got TNT, you've got a bunch of pickaxes, you've got oil, you got an actual like like a snotling or a goblin trapped in a little lantern. You've got the ponies that lug around all of the mining equipment, and there's even like a mining drill, like a mining laser that attaches to the pony itself. Um, they've got a steam drill that can go on the sergeant. Like, it's pretty peak in terms of bits. They've also got backpacks with a bunch of like blasting charges and other things on them. It's cool. I wish they'd do more of this stuff because, like, when it comes to unit fillers or putting things on miniatures to make them look different, like, it's stuff like this that will do that, which we don't have nowadays. Even the handgunner kit had little things like the powder. Yeah, they had the powder monkey. I mean, you had the Hawkland long rifle. You had like little trinkets that go around belts and whatnot. Like they still do some of that, but I don't think it's as flavorful. You know. Will we ever get Fallout 1 and 2 on stream? No, probably not. Probably not. Oops. Most likely not. I haven't played Fallout since like 360. And even then, I do kind of miss playing games, though. I don't have enough time in my days right now to even sit down and do that for any bit of meaningful gaming. Like, I'd maybe have 1 to 2 league games, and I'd be done. Considering I do have to kind of leave soon here as well. Probably in about 20 minutes. Duty calls, and duty sucks. It is not fun. Let me zoom in again. I love bits like this. I just wish you could do more with them. Because seeing anything like dwarven mechanical is fucking awesome. A lot of the Caradron bits are actually insanely good. Even for like fantasy standards, they're really, really good. More bits. In a way, I do wish Old World was kind of like, I wish it was more flavorful through like how minis work and being able to proxy stuff. Because things in the old world are very stagnant. They're like, it's Dwarf Warriors, it's a cannon, and you can change them up and make them look different, but what you get is what you see most of the time. Like, there's nothing really exotic in a Dwarven army to kind of make it look different, I suppose. Like, the Ogre Mercenaries that you can use are a prime example of a fun proxyable unit because they can be taken in any army. So, like, if you've got ogres in a dwarven army, you can make them ogres. Like, that works. You know, they're going to get paid in food and gold, right? Whatever. But, instead of that, why not just have, like, rune guardians or stone golems or, like, just something dwarven made? And that's kind of why AOS is a little bit superior in, like, the hobby aspect of this game. AOS allows stuff like that to happen because there's so many more, like, diverse options. And it's also just a casual game. Which is always good. If only. What left do I have to do? this right here, and this here. Pretty sure that's basically it, actually. Oops. The only thing left to this kit is like the gun and bombs and the front insignia. Thank God. How does that look? I wonder if they've literally made a tool that is like a poker, but it's got a very fine grit on the side of it. Or I even wonder if you could take, like, if you could take this and wrap it in sandpaper and have that matter. Like, is that even possible? Maybe if you, like... Actually, you know what? If you cut it really thin and then glued it... I don't know if they make these this thin. But, like... That would actually be pretty damn useful for this, I'm not gonna lie. Old world dwarf stuff? Only some stuff, not all of it. Because I've already got most of it. I'm still waiting on what the made-to-order list is going to be, because that's the most intriguing. That's about it. Like, the made-to-order stuff, I'll be getting the shield bearers, I'll get, like, the Thane, I'll get Ungrim. I think that's it for new units. I'm going to get the new character that's also coming out for the Dwarves. Which I'm hoping is going to be shown at the beginning of June. So, just the new stuff. It's not tenable anymore? Yeah, it's expensive. It's very, very expensive. And again, it's only getting more expensive, but, like, when it comes to the sculpts of GW, I've always used it. I always love it. Like, I just prefer the look of GW stuff to anything else. Which 2014 Dwarf box? Which one is that? Wanted to get the funny rats for iOS, but then I saw 40 clan rats. That's good, though. You want 40 clan rats. You want bodies, though, to take objectives. And those sculpts are really good. The clan rats look amazing. Like, I'll give GW this. Instead of making Age of Sigmar look so flashy and bloated and, like, too fantastical, they're really just doing, like, high-definition sculpts that look like fantasy, but HD fantasy. And I love that shit. The Skaven look amazing. Like, even the Stormcast are looking really good. Like, the proportions are better. The paint jobs they showed them with look so much grittier. Oh, sorry, there's no links. You talking about the big one with, like, the BSB? It's called the Dwarf Army. There was 2 Dwarf Army boxes, 2 Battle Forces. I've seen the one you did show on stream. It's probably that one. Or it's the battalion. You could post pictures in Discord. If you're in my Discord, you can post whatever, and then I can put it on stream. I feel like the box seems a bit empty compared to the previous boxes. Is it on the Warhammer community? The Skaven box. Where? New edition box. It says the new box is revealed, and I click it, and there's... Oh, it's because I have to click it again. Okay, so you get 40 clan rats. You get like a dude on a giant rat. You get 3 rat ogres. You get 3 Jezzails. And you get the big Gatling gun with an engineer. I actually think that's a pretty good box. I'm not going to lie. For Skaven, that seems pretty standard to have 2, like, large chunks of units running around the field. And I can't see Skaven doing anything else, right? Like the Stormcaster, the elites, and then you've got the little groveling, disgusting Skaven in the masses, right? Or en masse, I should say. I personally, like, growing up, I've played Horde armies. Like, Dwarves are not a Horde army, but, like, I used to play Guard. I used to play Empire, so having big blocks of, like, state troops. I played Night Goblins, Orcs and Goblins. I love Horde armies, but, like, I can understand why people don't like them. And, like, having too many is just ridiculous, you know? They do just kind of die by the handfuls. You just take them off. It's like 10 hours of painting 5 minis, and they're dead in, like, 2 seconds. You can post it in general. That's the one. I'm looking at... Yeah, I've got that one, too. That was the... It was... So they made 2 boxes of the Dwarf Battalion. One of them's a rectangle, one of them's a square. I'm not sure which came first, but I remember owning the rectangle. I believe that's got what, like 20 Dwarf Warriors, 20 Thunderers, or Quarrelers. It's got like 2 cannons, I think. New type of game. Yeah. I think the big thing, though, is that when you don't have new sculpts, you don't include them. Like, do you think they're going to want to put in the fucking, like, 90s Night Runners that look like Play-Doh, right, next to, like, new sculpts type of deal? It's very, like, for a launch box, they want to show off their new stuff, right? Like, unit variety is amazing. If you can have an army that has, like, a bunch of different shit and you can get it all at once in a box, that's amazing. But I think the reason these boxes have so many core troops is that you purchase it, you get all your core troops out of the way, and then you go buy, like, all of the extra stuff, you know, like the single characters, the weapons teams and whatnot. 40K is their baby. They'll never fuck up 40K. Even Age of Sigmar is kind of their baby, too. Age of Sigmar rakes in shit tons of money. My little brother stole my OG one. I found another one on eBay, so happy. Yeah, that's cool. eBay's fucking awful for shit like that. But I think the biggest thing is you kind of need to know its worth. Because, like, again, it is coming back. And if you can get it for, like, retail value, that's cool. But I think for the most part, when it comes to old boxes like that, with the sickest dwarf art, like, the coolest cover art, period, of any dwarf piece, in my opinion, it's more of, like, a collector's thing, right? Because, like, the box itself has value. As weird as that sounds, old artworked boxes are kind of sought after by collectors. Not like they're going to pay, you know, a lot of money for them. But if you're typically going back and buying, like, old releases of things and the artwork is different, you kind of want to put it on a shelf, you know? Exactly, yeah. This whole room is nostalgia. It looks like I'm walking into a fucking Games Workshop. It's depressing. At least in my age. You know, as a kid, I'm like, damn, that's cool. And now I'm just sad. No, Age of Sigmar sold very well. No, AOS, the reason AOS is still pumping out minis is because it's making a shit ton of money. Venomorph, thank you, man. Kind of are screwing over 40k with the new rules, for which is why I'm interested in Sigmar. Well, the rules, are you talking about screwing it over in the sense that, like, they're dumbing everything down and streamlining it? Like, no upgrades, nothing. It's just whatever you purchase, you're purchasing it with every option. Is that what you mean? Oh, bad army rules. Oh. I haven't played 40k, so I can't really, like, chime in on that. Or I haven't played 40k lately, I should say. Um, for people who are gamers, I can understand when rules kind of like fuck them over and they're not as excited. Um, for me growing up, I did play a lot of the game, like fantasy, 40k, whatever, Age of Sigmar. Uh, but for me, it's more of like a spectacle. I love seeing armies arranged and painted well and like converted. Like I'm okay with getting my shit kicked in if I could look at a cool thing. Bro, what are you on about? No, bro, I'm waiting to play League. I just need to stream it in the morning. Streamlining and the game is more gotchas than ever before. Yeah, I mean, again, I can't really chime in on like the current state of 40k or even Old World or even Age of Sigmar because I haven't played in one or two editions. Um, but for me personally, I'm like, even if dwarves suck, I'm still gonna fucking play them. Even if like Leagues of Votann blow ass, which they're probably never gonna blow ass, I'd still play them. Right? Like I've always kind of taken that route where I only do what I enjoy and like I'll be there through thick and thin, you know? But I can understand why people would get frustrated when they're playing an army that's like completely shit on. Like I get that. People are competitive, people do like to win, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it certainly comes down to how you kind of take the game, how you approach it. Okay. You know, some people play every army. Some people got shelves of armies. And that's cool. Um I'm just not really interested in like uh kind of everything. Like I like very specific things and I love them and everything else to me is not as interesting. Yeah, I get that exact. I understand that completely. Like I've played competitively in gaming for a long time and by competitive I mean you know, at a high level and winning feels fucking amazing, losing does not. Um I think for the sake of like it's interesting because when I look at something like Warhammer, I don't see a game that always needs to be so like do or die, right? Like you can have that setting where you go to a tournament and you're going to play because you've paid money and maybe you get to win money or miniatures money, whatever, right? In that case, it's very cutthroat. But if you're going into a store and just playing casually, you're just kind of there to throw dice around and have fun. Why is winning fun? What do you mean? Who the fuck wants to lose? What? Winning is fun because you win. Like, it feels good, you know? Either way, no matter how you take it, it's like, as long as you're enjoying yourself, that's all that matters. GW doesn't know how to fix their game. I I don't know. I'm a little indifferent just because I've never been in that situation, you know? For me, it's like I don't care so much about rules and how things are. I just want to play what I enjoy. And if I win with it, that's awesome. If not, shit happens. But again, I know people are competitive, and I can understand that, like, if you want to take Warhammer seriously in a gaming aspect, that's legit. Because you do kind of need to cater to both people, right? Like, you need to make the game competitive and, you know, playable for everybody, but at the same time, how does that affect kind of both sides, right? Like, how is high level play compared to casual play and so on? Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, because they kept leaking everything. Yeah, I heard that. Yep. Working at Games Workshops like a circus. Competitive players will play GW no matter what it plays like. I mean, you know what's interesting to me is that I, I don't know, man. I'm just more in love with the setting. Like, gaming for gaming is, to me, soulless. It's very boring. I don't think I'd ever play a game for the sake of just the gameplay without some sort of like attachment to the setting or to a specific character or to a species or something like that, right? Like, as an example, if you want to use gaming, Valorant. I will preach the word of Valorant being the most soulless pile of shit ever, subjectively. The game was created to be an esport. It was created to be competitive. It's extremely soulless. Its characters are boring as fuck. All of the abilities are boring as fuck. You corner camp and like just have a jack off competition for an hour until someone peeks their head and then they're dead. Um, Games like that don't intrigue me. Like, I imagine some people, like, you definitely play Warhammer that way sometimes, where you're not playing it for the Leagues of Votann. You're not playing it for, um, Space Marines. Like, some people don't even care about the lore. Some people don't care about the miniatures. They're just kind of there to play the game and win. And it is different. I can understand, their side of it, but I don't care about that at all. Like, I stick to my guns no matter how shit they might be, no matter how good they might be. Like, I guess that's just how I am. Valorant, CSGO, Overwatch. Yeah, except it's Overwatch in, like, abilities but not soul, because Overwatch has soul compared to that game. Cooler characters, actual fucking, like, cinematics and whatnot, like, stories. Had soul. Well, I'm talking about the details that make Valorant the way it is. I'm not talking about, like, the gameplay. Like, okay, to be fair, the gameplay is obviously part of it, but when you compare Valorant to, like, Overwatch, Valorant's more hectic. If the Blizzard client had nothing to do with Overwatch 2, I mean, people don't like it because of that, yeah? Some people don't go after, like, Ubisoft games either, right? Because they suck. The client's crap and whatnot. Or just they screw the game over eventually, right? Either way, though, people will enjoy it because it's a game. It's just, if you enjoy something, that's great. Not everyone has to enjoy what you enjoy, and that's cool. $80 probably. That's about. So I think it's like when I was buying games, $59.99. I mean, I'm only 27, man, but $59.99, like, for your average PlayStation 2 game, Xbox game, stuff like that. I guess before that, if you're buying, like, PC games, I mean, fuck, probably like, what, $40, something like that. I don't bother with gaming as much because the games are unfinished. They're expensive as shit. Warhammer's expensive as shit, but at least it's not a one and done experience. Um, and the content of gaming today is just not fun. Like, I'll play Space Marine 2 because I played Space Marine 1. Outside outside of that, I'm not really interested in, like, anything that's coming out. Like, I don't care about Grand Theft Auto. That was fun when I was a kid, running, grandparents over on fucking sidewalks and shit and hitting them with the Uzi, right? Like, I don't want to do that shit. Now, like, come on. Yeah, Uzi 9mm. You actually committed like war crimes as a kid in Grand Theft Auto? Like, yeah. Is this sidewalk the road? Well, collector's editions are hundreds of dollars. The one mistake I've made in gaming in recent years that kind of led me back to not enjoying purchasing games was I purchased, finished, and then went back and finished the DLC of the Callisto Protocol. As someone who played the Dead Space games, first and second one being the goats, the third one is whatever. Um, that game in particular, like, I believe the exclusive edition was like 150 or something, and the whole gig with it was that you get all of the DLC. Which, funnily enough, the DLC is the ending of the fucking game, so good move there. It's just garbage. Not every game is like that, but for me, it left a sour taste in my mouth, and I'm like, I'm not fucking buying this shit. I'm just gonna buy Warhammer when it releases, with stuff that I like, and periodically a game that I already like the content of. Old school RuneScape never disappoints. True, but I feel like there's no aim in RuneScape. I think that's why I stopped playing it. RTSs are good, though. I was looking at a bunch of older games of mine, and be it they're not extremely old, but like I found my old Dawn of War. I think I found Age of Mythology. I know somewhere there's like Command and Conquer and whatnot, but there's no disc trays anymore. You can't just load up the game. I'm mining chopped trees. Yeah. But like I used to do that a lot, and it gave my life purpose as a kid, going home and like chopping trees for 3 years. But as an adult, it doesn't really fulfill me. Unfortunately, I am not satisfied entirely with that. Yeah, Age of Mythology is badass. Super sick. You buy a USB disc drive is $20. Yeah, I mean, they still do have games on Steam that are like updated for current, you know, um OSs. But like I don't think I enjoy physical media as much as I did. And I've got no space. I don't have anywhere to house games. It's cool to have stuff like that, but it really is it's like I think the only time I go after games, physical copies, is if I give a shit about them. Same thing with movies. Otherwise, there's just too many, right? You just kind of sit there drowning in a pile of like old shit, and it just doesn't retain any value. It takes up space. You play it once or twice and then look at it on a shelf forever. It's like, EDF was sick. Earth Defense Force. I remember getting the first Earth Defense Force in Walmart from my aunt to then go kill ants in the game. EDF was so sick. The first one, so awesome. Like, actually insane. EDF 6 in July. Jesus Christ. It's like Starship Troopers. I did beat Bolt Gun. It was okay. The problem with Bolt Gun was that it was too repetitive and it just got so fucking boring because, like, it was the same experience for the entire game. So once you've seen everything, it's like, what else do I want to go see? The repetitiveness was why it was bad, but the game was like, if it wasn't so repetitive, it was like a solid 9. Super well done. Super well done game. Very tight knit, very solid. Everything felt amazing, looked amazing. I mean, the enemies were very Warhammer. The weapons were Warhammer. Everything about it was awesome, but like the gameplay was the biggest problem. Dark Forces. Isn't that the Star Wars game? Dark Forces was the one with like the stormtroopers on the front. Force Starkiller was Force Unleashed. Force Unleashed 1 and 2, which was so sick. Such good games. Yeah, Force Unleashed. Force Unleashed was like one of the few games that Star Wars made that had dismemberment. And then after that, it's like, that's too aggressive. We can't have an entire universe killing each other where you've got weapons that decimate populations in the billions for doing nothing and then have people get chopped in half. You can't have that. Like, what? Like, really stupid. Like, current Disney Star Wars and the way they handle it is so garbage. Like, Andor will forever and always be like original trilogy levels of good. But in a more mature way. It's almost a different game. You know, they did that with Battlefront. They ended up making like the Battlefront sequel and throwing it on PSP. And everyone's been begging for ports to console, but like it's never going to happen. And now with the botched fucking Battlefront remake that was an absolute scam, it's never going to happen. Yep. Well, you know why? It's because they got lazy. Everyone was so hype, and all they did was give you something that probably could have been done in a month and make the game unfinished. They made nothing. Nothing good with that. You know, shit happens and you fuck up once and then you don't do it again. You know what's fucking crazy though is that I'm glad I didn't play the game on stream for longer than 10 minutes because they had fucking all of the Star Wars OSTs in it. So it's like you boot up the game and you've got God knows what copyrighted music blasting into your ears. Yeah, not worth the time. They just kind of they didn't do anything and then they sold it at full price. I wouldn't even say they like made it better. I'd say they made it worse with how unfinished it all was. If they did more with it, maybe it would have been better, but You know what I could do? What am I doing? Well, Force Unleashed was not canon. I feel like it was a like what didn't they retcon Starkiller? Is he really still canon? I swear to God, he got retconned. Some things are weird. You know, even the Thing video game was approved by John Carpenter, and I don't know if I like that. Like even the comics were approved. I don't know if you've read the Thing comics. They're cool as shit, but like what is going on? Like, what the fuck happens? It's cool, but the problem is continuity, right? It's like when you have different people writing different things for one canon, for one line, you're just going to have so many conflicting ideas and different stories going on that it just doesn't look good. In a way, like it's it's nice to see other people write stuff about something, but you can't kind of have that continuity be all throughout each and every one of them when they're all done by different people. Disney is I mean, I feel like Disney's kind of whatever, man. I'm not really a fan of new Star Wars stuff, and I love Star Wars. But there was a gem. I mean, Andor is like actually an insanely good show for Star Wars. And I wonder if the guys who made Andor, if they were to be able to direct more Star Wars stuff, how insane would Star Wars be, you know? Imagine the Book of Boba Fett being done by the people who did Andor, which I don't know their names, but like, holy shit. That would be fucking awesome. Well, George Lucas said, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. I don't think he gave a fuck. That's why, right? He didn't care. How does Age of Sigmar handle canon? Pretty sure it's consistent, no? I feel like for all, like, I haven't read too much AOS stuff since, like, maybe the third Go Trek book, and then outside of that, like, nothing compared to, you know, army books and whatever novels they've written for, like, different things going on. I'd like to assume it's not complete trash. Um, just because I'm sure they've probably learned from their mistakes, like elsewhere if there were any, as to like how to keep canon. Kind of hate that Warhammer writers have this thing about not touching other written characters. I think it's. I mean, what's interesting is that could it be a respect thing, right? If a character or a race is written so perfectly and everyone loves it, and then another writer comes along and like defiles it, isn't that kind of, in my opinion, disrespectful? But at the same time, you know, you got to move on. You got to get shit done, right? You got to keep the story going, you know. So I can understand that. Maybe it's the respect for the authors. Oh, if the first writer sucks, yeah. If no one likes their style and how they present, you know, whatever, then no one's gonna bat an eye if he gets replaced or whatever, right? And everyone does write things differently, right? Like not every writer is doing the same thing. Some people write things better. Some people just get what's going on. Money to make there. Money to make there. I mean, I don't think Black Library is like their biggest source of, you know, revenue. The Horus Heresy stuff, I'm sure, is like insanely profitable, right? Like they've made shit tons of money off that. Um, but again, you know, it's actually also like maybe when something is written, it's also kind of advancing a story that maybe they didn't want to tell yet or didn't want people to know too much about. And of course, it probably has to get approved by GW anyways before it goes, and gets printed. But I don't know. Black Library and paints don't increase in price, so that says a lot. Yeah, there you go. The books are cool. They just give you a better insight as to like what's happening and how people act and what they've been through. It's not for everyone, but for those who kind of care about shit like that, it's cool. It's like it's a niche within a niche. Like no one's gonna go into a games workshop and be like, I just read all the Warhammer books and I haven't touched a single mini. Not really a thing. Some people do that, but typically if you're into Warhammer, you're probably into the hobby, the universe a bit, Reading anything, Games Workshop, I feel like, is kind of, at least in terms of a novel, is like tip of the iceberg, It's like pretty off there. Three Japanese books and all of them are full of typos. You talking about like translated books? Because they usually don't do translated stuff. Everything's written in English, and then sometimes you get a release in like German or Japanese. Yeah. That sucks. That does suck. They need more of that stuff, but like the biggest thing is it making them money? Probably not. That's why they're not doing it. They're only going to pursue things that make money. They're a business, right? So, if Japanese people don't want dwarves, you're not getting Japanese dwarves. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks, but what can you do, right? And it's weird, though, because, like, Warhammer is in so many different countries, so you'd think you'd also have books translated in Games Workshops, right? Like, I think in Tokyo, they've got a Warhammer cafe, like a big one, and I wonder what they sell there, because surely it's not like English books, you know? Closed. Well, they've got a big cafe. I would love to go there. I don't think there's anything in particular that I'd buy, just because I don't buy anything currently out of a GW. Um, but like the books are a decent part of some of people's hobbying. Everything is labeled in English. Yeah, I guess there's just no market outside of like English speaking areas. Again, if people in Japan were crying out loud for like Japanese dwarves, I need Gotrek Gurnus and slaying beasts in Japanese. If they wanted that and it was like, possibly profitable, they'd do it, but should visit and buy all of it. Yeah, I mean, Warhammer's not accessible for everybody, and it's only getting worse. Um, it's a very cool hobby if you can get into it, but again, Black Library is such a niche thing, I find. Not everyone who goes into a GW reads any of the books. I don't blame them. Fuck, for the longest time I never cared about reading the books outside of like army books and whatnot. But like if you do get into novels and kind of go back and read some of the older stuff, or even like short stories in White Dwarfs, or in the Inferno magazines, they used to have a bunch of like short stories. Um, They're fucking awesome. Like, they're really good. If you love dwarves, there's a shit ton of dwarf stuff. If you love pretty much anything, as long as it's not like, I love the Chaos Dwarves or I love the Exodites, you know? Any mainline faction has stuff written about them. Um, Maybe not as much as, like, certain armies, but there's still something to latch on to. Cheaper to import a brand new Nintendo Switch from Japan than it is to buy one in America? Jeez. Have you seen the inflation, I think, in Zimbabwe? Is it Zimbabwe? Uganda or something? They've got like $1 billion notes. $1 billion fucking like bills. It is ridiculous. Like, what the fuck do you do with that? Like, holy. Are Skaven the version of Warhammer? Are they purely from Warhammer Fantasy? Warhammer Fantasy to Age of Sigmar. They're not in 40k. There was references to them, I suppose, or a race called the Hrud, which were this cloaked kind of lowly, like, xenospecies. There wasn't much on them, but they were supposed to be like the Space Skaven. And I don't think Space Skaven should ever be a thing. Like, you're pretty much pushing it with dwarves, right? Elves, Eldar, orcs, like, some things just work. If they were ever to release the Skaven, they need to be some sort of degenerate, like, Xenos race that doesn't... I don't think they should be technologically advanced. I don't know. There's something about them that if you were to put them in 40k, they should be these, like, savage, like, primate aliens, you know? I think that would make more sense. There's already so many, like, technologically advanced things in the galaxy. It's like, if you bring in Skaven, are they just, like, the botched version of all of that? Some things just don't translate well. I think having, like, you know, squats in 40k being just descendant humans cloned and stunted by their environment, like, that makes sense. They were born of where they've lived and what they've done. But the Skaven have to be this, like, complete Xenos, like, just hiding in the shadows, kind of like what they do in fantasy, pure alien race. So, and you know, it's interesting because, like, GW likes to go back and play on old ideas, like the Zotes, the Squats, the Gene Stealer cults, the Ambles. They kind of just go back and, like, dig through what they've done in the past and then update it. And of course, there is that Skaven, the Hrud. I think it was the Hrud. Should be. Like, the guy had a little fucking rat tail and he was cloaked and had, like, a rifle or something, I think, in one of the images. And then there was another image of one that was, like, killed and examined, and he was just a bubbling mess of, like, schlop, and he kind of looked like a fish. So, I don't know. Maybe they'd be in the guise of something else. There's a lot of cool shit that GW's done. It's just a matter of, like, how do you implement that in today's times, right? Star Child. I don't know what that is. Old Hrud are rat men. They changed them now in the Horus Heresy books. Yeah, aren't they like this weird, sloppy fucking mess of a race that kind of, like, distorts you and diseases you if you get near them? or something. It's like you can't even see them, and you just kind of like fall apart. Because I'm pretty sure there was a Space Marine chapter that had like a big HRUD problem on a planet, and they didn't destroy the planet; they just kind of like massacred the HRUD. They need more like shit anyways like that, dude. Like 40K is missing aliens. I'm sorry. Tyranids are great, but Tyranids can't be the only like primal fucking Xenos race. Like orcs are humanoid. They're Xenos, but like they still resemble people more than Tyranids do, right? I want more aliens in 40K. It's one of the most intriguing things. Fragment of the Emperor that was reborn into a random child somewhere, so you have a big Eson on the throne as a rotting corpse while a kid somewhere is somewhat divine. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's cool. More spacemen. I mean, you're in a fucking galaxy. Can we get aliens? Can we get another, like... Don't even need to be sentient, man. Just make them fucking, like, purely there for whatever reason. Have you guys seen... I think it's in the latest 40K Codex where they've got that little bit on Xenos, like, in the galaxy. And they've got, like, the fungi creatures with the guns and all of these, like, really bizarre-looking creatures that look absolutely horrifying. It's like, where is that stuff? Because they've got aliens in, like, Necromunda or some of the board games that are all kind of, like, one-off creatures. You know, things that just inhabit the world but don't kind of amass and, like, go out and do things. I want them to do something. Like, come together and get shit done. CMSS13 is such a good game. I've never heard of that game. Pixel games are cool. I play one-page rules. Yeah, that's fun. You know, you just got to find people to play with. Tyranids because Space Marines are... Yeah, I mean, Space Marines are very cool. But, like, yeah, Tyranids are, in my opinion, more interesting just because they are so alien and there's nothing like them. Like, Space Marines have been... I mean, they're, like, the saviors of the galaxy. Saviors, right? Like, nothing stops a Space Marine. We've seen every conflict and have lived through everything, and, you know, every new release for Games Workshop has about 10 of them. Space Station 13. I love aliens, bro. Anything Colonial Marines, I gush over. That shit is... I'm sorry, 40K. I'm sorry, any sci-fi, like, military stuff, but Colonial Marines, the goats. Like, the gear and everything, so iconic, so badass. It's so fun. I'll give it a look. If it has anything to do with Colonial Marines, I have been piqued. My interest is piqued. Tyranids are just hungry. Yeah, they're not good people. Not good aliens. People, I don't know how popular Xenos races are currently, but I don't think Tyranids are up there. But I could be wrong. I guess they were part of, like, the new 40K edition. which does help their popularity. CMSS-13 is a Colonial Marines. Space Station 13 is coded on. I don't know what that, I don't know what Beyond is. I'll look it up. I'll take a look at it after this. You know what that kind of reminds me of is it's probably not even close to being the same thing, but just reminding me of this. What is that game where they pitted aliens against humans and you had a commander on each team and you were able to build bases and it was first person? It's on Steam. What the fuck was that game called? Man, now I gotta try and remember it. Natural Selection. That's what it was. Natural Selection. Yeah. No, not TF2. Natural Selection is such a cool concept. Where, like, one player on each team is the commander, and they kind of, like, create and give their players things to work with, like barricades or gear, upgrades, like fucking war machines and stuff like that. And it's a first-person game where you're essentially playing as Marines and actual, Marine gear and weapons and whatnot, suits of armor. You got like the fucking power loader ripoff. And you're fighting aliens. And I mean, different breeds of aliens come out and the players can just do whatever they want with them. Like I remember playing Natural Selection for a whole day, and I ended up getting stuck in a game that lasted 3 hours because it was essentially the battle of one corridor. I only played the Marines, never played the aliens. And in this one door, everyone fought, and there was just no way around it for some reason. All of the other entrances were like blocked with something, or it was just really inconvenient. And so for 3 hours straight, we had Marines running down a hallway, gunning the shit out of like, I don't know, 20 to 30 people or something who were all aliens. Like, and it was a stalemate. There were so many of them. Both sides, Marines were getting shot by shit. They were getting shot to death. Like, nobody could break through. And then finally there was a breakthrough and we made it into the hive, and it was just so cool. Super fun. I wish games like that were still a thing. Sounds the exact same thing except pixel. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that sounds cool as fuck. Yeah, I like that. Chaotic, yo, buddy. Do you upload your variety content somewhere? Fuck no. Who the fuck wants to watch this? What are you gonna edit it with like zoom ins of the bit being scraped and like my face? But like, there's no content in this channel. This is just a hangout. Fantasy version of Natural Selection had bunny hopping. I mean, people find ways to break the game. People do a bunch of shit to kind of like gain the edge. Okay, I'm pretty sure I've like scraped this bit to all hell. With the models I make, yeah, one a year. I mean, the thing about updating, or not updating, but uploading content like this is that it's just too much work, honestly. And I'm not going to pay someone to take VODs and fucking upload them. It's just pointless. This is like end of the day, chilling out, not much going on, just kind of like talking to people. I never really intended to have this channel be anything but like a small hangout, right? It's not going to grow into anything crazy. Like, for God's sake, I sit in the Warhammer section, right? Nobody sits in the Warhammer section. But that's the point of the channel, right? It's not like anything crazy. Trying to make a living in the Warhammer section of Twitch is like trying to be a fucking artist. Well, in a band, I should say, a musical artist. One that's handing out like demo discs. You know, you dream of making it big, but it's just kind of the world you live in. It is interesting though because like I think the number one thing about streaming Warhammer on Twitch is that I feel like I've seen people's Patreons. I don't know if you've seen like professional painters and their Patreons and, you know, them streaming Warhammer and whatnot, but like, holy shit. Talk about 5,000 people subscribing to a Patreon. Like, it's fucking crazy good. But you gotta be good. You know, people want to subscribe to see like painting tutorials and how to improve and whatnot. You know what's interesting about Evolve is I used to play a game called Monday Night Combat, and Monday Night Combat was a ripoff of Team Fortress, and I played the game competitively for the ladder that they had and the competitive scene that was there. I played competitively, and we won. We were the best team. Period. Very egotistical. Were we? You know, super toxic, super ragey. Like, I was a young kid. I ran my mouth. Um, and my assault player. Everyone had their classes they played. I was sniper. We typically ran like tank or gunner support with. We played everything, I suppose. I was a one trick. I only played sniper, but everyone else kind of did their thing. But our assault player, assault being the most broken fucking class in the game, he ended up being a Evolve Pro player at like these tournaments and whatnot, and I think he won a few of them. Like, his name was pretty well thrown out there in like the scene, which was cool because that game came out ages after MNC. Kind of a small world. I think I've heard of Guns. I just haven't played it. I played Worms. Is that it? Worms. What's wrong with this thing? Yeah, I think I've scraped this bit for so long that, like, it still has problems because I haven't been paying attention. It's good for now, though. I'm not gonna fuck with it. I think even this one, getting into the wires. I do wonder, though, if this is possible. No, not really. I wonder if there is a needle. What would you even call this? A needle sander contraption? Like, I don't know what the fuck you'd call this, if this is a real thing. I was seeing you messing around and I just figured so many years. Sanding stick, but like this thin. This thin with a point. Like, how do you get this? How do you obtain something this thin? Because I really need the needle, right, to get into here. I guess you can kind of like scrunch up paper. Like, even this is too much, and this is very thin. Like, you'd have to kind of chop it in half like this. And then somehow whittle it between things. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think the way I was doing it was good. Where you just kind of take a sharp bit and like press mold lines down, kind of mushing them. But I'm not sure. Yeah, linking, peace, buddy. You have a good night, man. This is still the gyrocopter. Yeah. It's pretty much, we're done bit like cleaning the gyrocopter almost. Thank God. But this is not gonna work. But yeah, ideally I think stabbing the hell out of like all of these little spots mentally feels like it works, but maybe not. And you know what? I don't think anyone even cleans out these little like fucking spots between the canisters, but I try to get everything if I can. And I can't imagine looking at this and being like, oh, that's fine. There's just mold lines everywhere. starts bothering. You don't clean your minis? Oh no! Mold lines! Clean them. You gotta clean them. My reasoning behind cleaning everything, outside of having, like, a problem with my brain, is that if you're gonna spend so much money on this shit, why not? If I'm gonna spend, like, $60 for a gyrocopter, by the way, and then I build it with my fucking, like, fingers and cut it with scissors and whatnot, just doesn't feel like you're getting your money's worth, you know? Because you can do a lot with kits to make them worth, you know, what you're paying for them, despite the prices being insane. I just try to get the most out of it, so the experience is kind of long-lived. Hopefully not past the point of, like, not being interested, but... Still better than not thinning paints. Oh, if you don't thin your paints, your model's going to look like Play-Doh. But subjective, you know? Everyone does what they do, and if you like the end result, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no gatekeeping when it comes to doing the hobby. Fuck that. If you want to make your miniatures look like Play-Doh, by God, do it. If you want to not scrape a single fucking mold line, by God, do it. As long as you're happy, that's the only thing that matters. And someone's hobby and happiness isn't yours, so, like, why does that matter? Everyone can have their own opinions on how things are, but, you know, you're playing with, like, fucking plastic miniatures, man. It's not the end of the world. You're there to have fun. Play-Doh models are adorable. Hey, if you like the aesthetic, that's awesome. If you don't, that's fine. Fuck. Well, skill issue in Warhammer is patience issue, or not understanding issue. Some people are just not interested in kind of sitting around and doing layers of paint or, like, taking their time, and I can understand that, but, like, you're not born genetically failed, you know? Like, you can learn things and get better if you want to. If not, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a skill issue if you want it to be a skill issue. You know, that's kind of how that works. Those are endless copies of Fire Warrior. Fire Warrior. Time and understanding. Yeah, for the most part. People just don't have the patience or the ability to remember things, and I don't blame them because I'm that way as well. And in a perfect world, you know, you're kind of like very happy with what you're doing, but for most people, it's kind of hard to get to that point sometimes. Everything seems so daunting and, like, incredibly hard to process because there's so much of it. Like, how do I learn how to wet blend? How do I learn how to fucking highlight? How do I learn how to do, like, stippling and all this shit? It's like you can learn something, but then it's how do you retain that something? How do you remember it and kind of, like, apply it where you seem fit? You can remove paint, yeah, with, like, different products. Three brushes in one hand. People paint with, like, four different canvases at once. They paint with their fucking, like, toes and hands. Hey, whatever works, man. When it comes to removing paint, though, it can be a little ugly if you don't do it well enough. But if you paint something poorly, it's not ruined. You can kind of, like, redo it. It's just you got to work with it, you know, if you're going to use chemicals. Takes a bit to scrape things off minis, like paint and whatnot. Yeah, metal minis are really easy to work with when it comes to stripping paint. Metal mini paint stripping is like one process, and it's very fast, whereas plastic minis are like goopy and the fucking, like, base coat sticks to the plastic and it stains it. Yeah. It's not a good sight. Yeah, I should be getting out of here very soon. I would say in about 5 minutes I'm gonna go. I've stayed on a bit too long. I have to go. 5 minutes and I must leave. We've scraped 2 bits in 2 hours, but you know what? We're almost done, so that's fine. That's cool. Casting minis, like your own stuff, is very fun. I've done it before. But it's a bit expensive, and the process can be tedious if you don't really know what you're doing. Um, Lego. Pretty sure it was Lego. Silicone. We had to go to a place that dealt in casting, like a legitimate store that was, like, purely for making molds and stuff like that. And you know, you mix the two parts, you pour it, it hardens, whatever. You're still making, you know, the gates and whatnot to make sure all the fucking resin flows in properly. Like, it's tedious to make a mold, but once you've got it done and you know the process, you can whip through that shit so fast. You can cast up miniatures in minutes. Like, it's pretty damn insane how good it is. Um, I would say it's more fun than 3D printing and stuff like that, personally, but I guess it's somewhat different. But yeah. If you could ever go make your own minis and cast them, it's an experience. And you know, I hope the mold lasts forever and you can make as many things as you want. Oh, it's all toxic. It's all bad, but you learn as you go. Why is every fucking song from these guys just so edgy for no reason? It's like teen angst against a fucking, like, bully. Like, you can't listen to this shit and take it seriously. Like, every single song is about just, like, revenge and aggression, and if it's not that, it's just the guy being so fucking sad. Like, what is this band, bro? What is this band? Holy smokes. He's either trying to, like, beat the shit out of someone, or he's bawling his eyes out, saying he wasn't good enough. What is going on? Oh, look. It went from wanting to climb back up to the top and beat people up to this song. And you can't even hear it. It's so low. Thank God. So relatable. So relatable. After this song, though, I do have to go. Shit. You really don't see much of this, thankfully. There are still parts that kind of, like, show up on the side of the model that could potentially have mold lines, but... Just try this again. A Riptide and an Imperial Knight. Yeah, those are cool. I remember when people used to gush over the Riptides. And I guess even Imperial Knights, right? Because that is kind of a big deal. To me, I think Knights are probably the most uninteresting army in the game, though. I think they should always be allies and not their own thing. Because it's just kind of like a boring... It's a boring, like, you know, slog against just beating 4 to 5 things on the field type of deal. But it's cool. It's very cool. What's your biggest model you have? Probably the Ironclad, the Arcanaut Ironclad, which I'd love to build. They're adorable in person. I mean, I'm more against like the idea of fielding 5 units than I am, their aesthetics personally. But yeah, with the dwarves though, there's not many big units, and I'm 100% trying to get rid of everything that isn't a dwarf currently. And even some dwarves. I'm actually selling some dwarf stuff. Yeah, the Ironclad is very sick. You could make I have it, it's not built. You can like I wish you could have a balloon up here instead of this like fucking aether chemistry, bulbous thing. But like it's a dwarven airship. It's got cannons. It's very dwarvish. It's got like Gatling guns and bombs. It does fly, yeah. It's powered by aether chemistry, right? Like this resource up in the clouds that go get harvested, and then it gives them the power they need to just do whatever they want. Something like that. Yeah. It's a gas. I'm pretty sure there's a guy who goes up and like sucks it all up, and then they fucking turn it into fuel. Or it's just fuel in general or something. I haven't read Caradron lore since like their first book, and I think we're on like the third one, and we've got novels. I don't know, something like that. I'm not current on Caradron lore. I don't read stuff about them. The last time I read anything Caradron related was actually in the Grombrindle book, when Grombrindle manifested kind of in the form of a Caradron guy, and it was like this big escort of ships going out, and they were all attacked by like Marathi and her fucking like dirty elf creatures, all the flying like harpies and whatnot. So that was cool. But like Age of Sigmar is not my favorite. AOS is not my preferred setting. But I think it is getting better. I actually think aesthetically, because I haven't kept up with AOS lore, aesthetically Age of Sigmar looks amazing right now. Not amazing enough for me to buy it because there's no dwarves that I currently like. But I think for the most part, Age of Sigmar is actually shaping up to be so much better than it once was, which is amazing. When I Google them, I see different guns for the one at the front. Yeah, there's different options. There's harpoon guns, cannons, Gatling guns. I mean, they obviously do different things, right? There's a lot of options for the Caradron. They're very driven by their weapons, right? It's their technology that kind of allowed them to survive and thrive in Age of Sigmar. Think of like, well, if you know anything about dwarves, they've got their whole Slayer cult, which is very much about melee fighting and honorable death through combat. They've got the Engineers Guild, which is about innovation and creating things and, black powder weaponry and all of these war machines. And that's kind of what the Caradron are. They're like the next evolution of the Engineers Guild, essentially. It's just a bunch of bright minds who kind of created not spaceports, but skyports, and, found this energy to be used to power ships and whatnot. So, no, Caradron are just dwarves. They're dwarves with, like, augments. Yeah, so they've got, like, robotic legs and whatnot, and not all of them do, but some of them have, like, replaced limbs and whatnot with robotics. Like hydraulic fucking, little boots and whatnot, feet. I believe. Maybe. I have to look at their minis again. You could magnetize it. I mean, if you're really trying to if you want your money's worth out of Warhammer, so as an example, right, we could talk about this again. So you buy the Arcanaut frigate, right? There's your main gun. there's your options. You can kind of see the chassis and like how it's mounted. To me, this is one magnet. This bit right here connects the cannon, connects the Aether volley gun, and connects the skyhook. So literally one magnet in each and then one in this bit, you'd be able to swap it. Yeah. Sometimes they don't do that. Like a lot of the older kits didn't have magnetization in mind. And even when they designed this, maybe they didn't, but like it just turned out to be more convenient to do something like this. But like as an example, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like the Dwarven organ gun and cannon, although are in the same kit, they're different in how you build them. Like, if you want to build the cannon, you have to kind of add a few more pieces, and then if you want to build the organ gun, you have to take away a few more pieces. They can't be swapped, yeah. A lot of the older stuff was weird like that. But, again, they're cool. You know, buy a few cannons, buy a few organ guns, you're good, man. You're way good. They've got moving parts. You can actually move the cannon and the organ gun up and down if you don't glue it. Like, you could realistically move that little blade right there if you didn't glue it. You could even move this. Kind of, not really, but the problem with moving parts is that you can't paint all of it, and it's supposed to be a miniature, not like a toy to be played with. Yeah, you can do anything you want with a knife and putty. I don't, like, sometimes I'll customize things like that, but I think for the most part, I'm not, like, mutilating the kit to kind of create something new, unless I was doing something orc-related. But yeah, I mean, creative freedom is there with Warhammer, for sure. You can kind of put your mind to something and create it completely out of the blue. Like, even for the, so this is a gyrocopter, and I think for the most part, gyrocopters are very stuck with their aesthetic. Not that it sucks, it's amazing. But, you know, you've got your little blades up here, and it just flies around. Drops bombs, has a gun. The gyro bomber is a little bit more interesting in that it's a longer frame to work with. So, like, as an example that I thought would be fun is remove the clatter gun, build some sort of, like... I mean, I guess you could do the gyrocopter like that as well, and you make it some sort of, like, visual gun platform. So, like, as an example, clatter gun's gone. Maybe, you know, round off the front. And you can add a platform back here to where you've got Dwarven Thunderers kind of shooting off the sides of it, just like the Thunder Barge would have. Just to make it visually different, you know? Realistically, I think when it comes to dwarves and how engineering works, is that everything dwarves do is kind of completely unique and up to the person creating it, right? Like, dwarves don't kind of throw things on an assembly line and make, like, 500 of the same thing. At least that's not, to my understanding, that's not what they do. They can create the cannon, and, you know, the blueprints are there, but, like, they kind of engrave it differently, and they adorn it with, like, different markings and ancestor faces and whatnot to kind of, like, represent, I guess, that individualism. You know, because there are a lot of engineers, right? Like, Dwarven society is full of them. I mean, it's a whole fucking, like, part of their existence anyways is just engineering and kind of, you know, bringing up ores and smelting it down and then using that for whatever. So, you could do a lot with it. It's just, I've built orcs and played orcs for so long that, like, going back to dwarves, when it comes to creating things, is very daunting. Because it has to be so fucking perfect. Like, if I was still here building orcs, I would take a bit, chop it in half, sit on it, throw it in the garbage, melt it down into a blob, and then let it set in the sun, and I'd be like, that looks sick. For dwarves, if I accidentally cut a little chip in, like, the blade, it's over. Completely over. Just because that's how dwarves are, right? Like everything they do is very perfect and by the book, but all of their little detailings and engravings and whatnot are completely unique, right? Very representative of like their ancestors and their clans and families and holds and whatnot, right? So you need to become a dwarf. No, I don't need to become a dwarf. What I would like to do is figure out how to be extremely precise in making things. Then you could be a dwarf. Because, like, to be able to craft something like this is very fucking hard. Like, it looks perfect. Oh, to make it look nice? Yeah, for sure. I guess you'd be toiling away for hours on one thing, which is kind of what we do anyways. All right. I gotta go. I'm gonna be a bit busy tomorrow. I gotta be up early. So with that being said, I am out of here. Everybody take care. Stay safe. Be well. I will see you tomorrow, maybe on the main channel, maybe here. I'm not sure yet. I typically don't have a lot of time during the days just because I'm so busy, at least for the time being. Soon enough, I won't be busy, and I'll be able to stream for like 10 hours a day. Kit bashing his minis. Oh, they would do that. Yeah, like, again, everything in Dwarven society is very, like, handcrafted, completely unique, very individualized, passed down from generation to generation. Like, my grandfather's axe slew 50 goblins while he was sleeping. And so on that axe, you engrave some goblins getting killed or something. It's all cool. But, yeah, anyways, I'm out of here. Be well, stay safe, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace. Peace, everyone.